Already started. Right?
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. My dogs decided to go crazy barking there. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Okay, before we get started, since this is the last session of 3 days, I know I'm exhausted, but if you guys want to put in the chat section and make sure you write it to everyone, tell us how the 3 days were. If there's anything you know, 1 or 2 key points you really learned or anything like that, that would be awesome, because then the crew here tonight could kind of get to know you guys a little bit. And then the game plan for tonight is we're going to do we're going to start with just you guys getting to know Michelle, Carrie, and JD, and then I'll kind of guide some questions, and then we'll open it up to open Q&A with you guys, and you can either ask questions to the chat, or we can unmute you and you can ask questions directly, whatever you prefer. So we will we'll get started. So first things, I think before we even talk about entrepreneurship and business and so forth, if we'll just start going around, and if you could each just, you know, tell them who you are, what kind of therapist you are, how long you've been a therapist, and what you were doing before you started a business, just to give us a little background info. So Michelle, do you want to start?
Sure. Hi, I'm Michelle Riggle. I'm a physical therapist and I live in South Central Pennsylvania. I've been a PT for September will be 23 years, which is hard to believe. I had moved back to Pennsylvania to be closer to my family from Omaha, Nebraska. And I took a DOR position, my first DOR position in a skilled nursing facility, which did not have very good ratings. And I just took the job over the phone. So I did not enjoy it. It definitely took every bit of my soul out of me, I think. So that was kind of I've always thought about having my own business, but that was a really big impetus to like really push me to start looking and seeking it out. And I got hooked up with Kara's group, got started in the Therapy Business Builder program, and went from there. And I'm single, so I had to figure out how to do it with just my income. I had no other backup income. So yeah, I figured it out. I can get into that later, but hello.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, Carrie, tell us about your background.
Sure. So my name is Carrie Stanley. I'm an occupational therapist. I live in Chicago, and I've been here for 23 years, which is as long as I've been an OT. And pretty much all of my career was working with adults, particularly older adults. In the last about 15 years before I started my own practice, was working in home health. So similarly, I really didn't know much about home health when I got into it. Kind of like many, sometimes you fall into something. Turned out I loved it. I loved the one-on-one, the problem solving, being in people's homes. But eventually over time, I realized I was a really bad corporate employee. So, which led to me starting my own practice.
Awesome. And JD.
Hey, so my name's Jared, or JD, and I'm originally from Massachusetts, but I live down in Florida now. Started my career up there, then moved down to Florida and worked primarily in the skilled nursing environment. I got kind of tired of that environment, moved on to home health, got tired of that environment, and I linked up with Kara online and was very encouraged to start my business after speaking with her. And I've had my practice for about almost 3 years this August. And I love it a lot. I run a mobile outpatient lymphedema and skills to care dementia program practice down in Florida. So
Awesome. Perfect. So, how many years before you started a practice did you guys think about starting a practice? I mean, did you think about starting practice for like 5, 6 years, or was it just like one day you decided you were going to start a practice? JD, I'll have you take that one first.
nope, it was probably about 9 months before. Like I had just become so frustrated with the corporate environment just kind of coming down on myself and not being able to provide the right type of care. And I got very frustrated, and it really led to this journey. So
Perfect. Carrie, how about you?
Trying to think back, it's like that weird COVID time warp that I can't exactly remember, but I actually literally did not know I could have my own practice until I think I found my way to Facebook, probably about 2 years before I actually started, when the burnout was really setting in, which was when I found, a lot of the different Facebook groups I'm sure people here are familiar with, and found my way to you, Kara, which was when I realized, oh, as an OT, I can actually have my own practice. I thought it was something PTs did, that they had a clinic. So, but yeah, I'd say maybe about 2 years.
Awesome. Michelle?
Even when I was in PT school, I'd always thought it would be really awesome to have like a clinic with like a gym attached and all that kind of stuff. So that was in like the back of my mind. But then once I got into the corporate stuff, that just kind of went to the cobwebs in the back somewhere. And not until, because then I just thought it was just going to be a lot of overhead and all the stuff that I just didn't really want to get alone, and just all the details. So I never really thought about it much until the DR position. And then, like I said, I got hooked up with you, and I didn't realize I could have my own practice with a low overhead and be mobile. And so, yeah, it was, I've always wanted to, but it just didn't come up again until I think COVID started. Just really didn't like the job I was in.
Awesome. Okay, now let's talk about each of your practices and just tell us about what your actual practice is, what you do, if you have any staff or no staff, if you, kind of specialize anything. So we'll just kind of do a deep dive into each of your individual practices. Carrie, do you want to start with this one?
Sure. So I primarily specialize in working with folks with Parkinson's. I was LSBT big certified. One of the perks from my home health company, they had us all get certified. So I had that certification and had experience working with that population. And then, although I will say, when I was starting my practice, I was, all takers, and knew I wanted to be working with older adults. Really thought what I really wanted to do was kind of just aging in place, sort of more active older adults who want to be at home, that kind of thing. Once I started getting out there and marketing and networking, the patients that were coming to me were far more complex than that. So primarily, though, it's been Parkinson's, and then I did get my skills to care certification. Again, not necessarily something that I wasn't seeking it out specifically, but when I read more about it, I really liked everything about that certification. And I thought, well, I'm getting folks with dementia, and I feel like I need more expertise. So that's been a great, I guess that certification has really helped get, in terms of helping with marketing and getting sort of a name out there, and kind of having that niche has been really helpful. So those are the two areas, populations that I primarily serve. And let's see, you asked, do I have any staff? I have an OT who's part-time, and then she's working 2, maybe would probably like to do 3 days a week. And then I have a PT who probably, against my better clinic manager judgment, is very part-time. But I needed someone who specialized in working with folks with Parkinson's, because those are the people who I was seeing who really needed PT. And the person who I found doesn't have a lot of availability, but it's actually thus far has worked out well. So.
And then how long has it been since you went full into your practice and left your other position?
Yeah, I saw somebody had kind of asked, somebody asked insurance or private pay. So I primarily take insurance. So I take Medicare Part B. I see folks who are on Medicare Advantage plans if they're PPOs. Those Advantage plans these days are almost maybe half of the people that I see. And then you have some folks who are private pay, most of whom have transitioned from being a client that I was seeing through insurance. And when we got to the point where the services just were no longer either skilled or medically necessary, have transitioned to private pay. I was PRN, though essentially full-time PRN in home health. During COVID, they wouldn't let me modify my hours to be available for my kids. So they cut me from full-time and I went PRN, which is a bit of a blessing because I had already given up all my benefits when I went PRN. So I kind of did that really tough step with, wasn't much of a choice, but it was already done. So I was able to think about transitioning to working for myself. So I kind of leveled down my PRN caseload as I was growing, and that transition time was probably about 6 months. Though I do keep saying to folks, the key step was when I was finally convinced that I needed to take a day to just work on my business at the beginning, and really dedicate that time to networking and marketing and following up on things and just all the other little things that needed to get done, that if I had continued without dedicating that time, I think that transition would have been much longer than 6 months. So, but I too had, my income is a primary income in our family. So I never had the luxury to completely step away, but was definitely still able to do it.
Awesome. Thank you. JD,
Sure.
you want to go next?
All right, so let's see. So with my practice, it took me about 3 months to step away. So I was working in home health at the time. Same thing. I was working essentially full-time per diem for a couple different companies. And let's see. So my specialty is lymphedema management, and for that reason, there's not a lot of other therapists in the area that do this specialty. So it's definitely high. It was high in demand. So I kind of took off running like from the get-go. I did bring on a couple per diems, one per diem CODA, and then one per diem PT. And it really just kind of took off from there. I'm sorry, Kara, can you refresh the part?
Yeah, just tell about all the stuff that you do in your practice
Oh,
with your lymphedema and so forth. Yep.
So with lymphedema management, I do a lot of consultations with wound care centers. I still keep some ties with some of the home health companies because they don't have anyone else that's working with lymphedema therapists. So I will keep a loose connection with them, and they'll shoot me some referrals here and there. I also run the Skills to Care program, which is fantastic. I love it a lot, and every client that I've used that with has really, really enjoyed it. And I also do use a pain management tool called Dolphin NeuroStim, and I work a lot with neuropathy and pain management. And I've done some consultations here and there using that device with different doctors in the area. So I stay busy within those areas. It's funny because I only pick hard things, I say, that no one else does. So I stay really, really busy, which is good.
Can you talk a little bit about a couple of the newer things you're doing with, the clinic? And then also now you're consulting with another OT who has her own practice. Can you talk a little bit about those two things?
Yeah, so I opened the clinic, or I am using a treatment room at a clinic with another occupational therapist that's about an hour away from here, and I am there a couple days a week. I treat lymphedema patients there on and off. And it's nice because I have a balance of doing the mobile, and I can also work in the clinic here and there. And then on top of that, it's a nice balance because there are also massage therapists there too. So it's a difference. There's a variety there. Then what was the last part, Kara? I'm sorry.
And then the new thing you literally just started with consulting with Jatel with
Yeah.
the OT clients or the lymphedema clients.
So I've been consulting with another OT that has a practice on the other side of the state, and this is actually pretty cool. I've been providing lymphedema care virtually with her here and there. So we've got about 3 patients now, 1 currently, and then hopefully 2 tomorrow. So it's taken off. And then the last thing that I'm doing, which is kind of new, is the whole social media thing. And that's kind of a huge leap for me because I'm very much an introvert, and it's kind of fun. You get, it gets easier the more that you do it,
And we were talking, they had a session marketing for the introverts, and I was kind of thinking about you because he signed up and took my niece Kylie's Amazon influencer course, and he said how it actually helped him really get out of his shell and market more. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So with this program, I opened up a TikTok and created an account, JD the OT. So that's my tag. And from all the content that I was putting out, I'm actually able to use that to help promote my business as well. So it's a great way to kind of double dip per se and just repurpose everything that you're doing. So my recommendation is definitely to record everything that you do because you never know how you can repurpose it. So
Yeah, and someone found him and asked him to come and speak at a conference.
yeah, I was invited to go to the National Lymphedema Network conference this fall. So it's a huge thing. I'm pretty excited. So I'll be talking about the mobile practice there. So
Perfect. Okay. Oh, one more thing you do. You also consult with compression companies, pumps.
oh, yep.
Right?
So along with providing the care, there are compression pump companies within the area that require a lymphedema therapist to go out to actually train the client how to use the device here and there. So it's also a nice connection that we have doing that too as well. There's so many facets that I do that it's just, there's a lot.
It's awesome. And are there any attendees on tonight that are CLTs? I'd be interested to know if anyone's doing that. So, Kate, we'll come back to that question. Michelle, why don't you tell us all about your current practice, kind of what you specialize in, if you have any staff, things like that.
Okay. So yeah, when I was working full-time as a DOR, I started my business January of 2020, right when COVID was coming about. But I kept working full-time for 9 months and just starting to build up a little bit of a caseload on the side. I'd go after work and see clients till, I said for 9 months. Then I went and transitioned to a PRN home health care job and started continuing to work on my business. And as my business grew, I took less and less clients at the PRN home health care position. So that's how I transitioned. I've been full-time in my business now, I think 1.5 years without any other W-2 positions. I do have some other contractor positions that I do that are very lucrative. So I'm going to keep those and have those like here and there. But anyway, okay. So I started out with, I think I hired my PTA first because I wanted to, if I was going to be ready to grow and hand some off to the PTA, but also give myself a little bit more freedom to work a little less. And then I brought on an independent contractor OT. They're all very PRN. So anyway, she was able to work like 1 day a week because she lives far away. Then I just recently brought on a CODA and a OT. They're again still PRN. The CODA would like to be very part-time or more like closer to part-time, full-time. And we're just building up her caseload pretty well right now. All right, what else? Who do I see? I guess it's all primarily, I mean, my primary thing is Medicare. I do have some people with Medicare Advantage plans. Like there's an Aetna Medicare Advantage that I've kind of got in their system early on after lots of headaches and tears getting into their system. But once I got in, now that I see people, it's super easy. I mean, I'm in the system, it's good to go. So there's definitely some challenges at the beginning, but I've learned a ton. And then I also have a decent amount of transitions to wellness or private pay after the skilled part. I think I have three people that are on like a private pay right now. And then I had a couple people that were just private pay, no insurance from the get-go. What else?
Do you have any specialization or clients you like to talk? Like the other day I said, if you like pain management, you're like, no, I don't do that. What is your kind of area? More just
I
general?
love, I see a little bit of everything. I mean, I've seen like joint replacements, I see Parkinson's, stroke, just general like imbalance. I'd say my biggest like love is like balance and fall prevention and things like that. I also have my CDT or yeah, whatever, dementia, CDP, sorry. I do enjoy working with dementia patients as well and helping. I haven't done the skills to care. That might be a consideration down the road, but I enjoy working with dementia patients as well. But I really don't have like a niche. I kind of see like a mix of everything. I turn down more stuff now than I used to. When I was getting started, I took anything, but now I'm a little bit more selective, but I'm willing to see a little bit of anything.
Awesome. Okay, Michelle, how many hours do you work?
I don't ever really track my hours, but as far as seeing clients, I have my Mondays and Fridays. Right now, I don't have any admin help. I'm still working on getting some of that into place. So Mondays and Fridays, I kind of do admin tasks between billing and any other behind the scenes phone calls, getting plan of care sent, those kinds of things. So I really only see clients 3 days a week, which is awesome. And typically like a really busy day would be 5 clients, but typically I see 3 to 4. But then the OT and CODA and other people are seeing people. So it's awesome because I really wanted to, and I love the fact that I don't have to ask for anybody for time off. Like next week, I'm not working Monday or Tuesday because I just don't want to. So, and I tell my clients I'm not working Monday and Tuesday and they're fine with that. So just the freedom of not asking anyone for a day off and just doing, I mean, yes, you don't get paid, but I make up for it like the next week usually or whatever. But yeah, so 3 days a week. I think today I was out and about for like 6 hours. But maybe I work less than some people, but I wanted to have my own business so I could work less. I don't want to work more. I don't want to be stressed out working 10-hour days and not interested. So that's what I do.
Perfect. Carrie, how about you? How many hours do you work?
I'm in a little bit of a similar boat to Michelle. I don't know. One of my goals has been to do a time audit and I perpetually failing at it. But I tend to see clients, patients Tuesday through Friday. So it's 4 days a week. Sometimes it's 3. I like to see 4 folks a day. Sometimes it's 5 this week because my husband's birthday and my daughter's birthday and 8 zillion other things going on. I wanted to not work as much. So I did a few longer days, but anyhow, so I'd say I average about 16 visits a week. I probably, so say we'll call that 16 hours plus a little drive time, so 20 hours. I probably work almost another 20 hours of doing other stuff. I mean, if I were to sit down and add it all up, maybe not quite. But I think, yeah, I usually work a full week, but it's not all patient care.
Awesome. And JD, you're doing so much stuff. When doesn't JD work?
So here's the thing. Kara has always, wanted me to not work Saturdays, and I did it for a little bit. I did. And, I ended up going back and doing more. But, I feel that it's harder for myself because sometimes, with lymphedema clients, it's typically like 3 days a week. So if I see someone on a Tuesday, and if I don't see them on that Saturday, they're going to swell back up by the time I see them on Monday, So, yeah, I can take the time off though. Like I have the ability to, it's just a personal thing. And that's where it comes to setting boundaries. And that's a big lesson to learn around, throughout this journey is how do you say, here's my boundary. I can't be there today, and take it from there, and that's.
And you have done Sunday and Mondays off instead of Saturdays.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I do take off Sundays and Mondays. Yes. So.
Awesome.
It's really whatever you make it, that's the most important thing.
Okay, so we had a question, insurance or private pay, and all of you guys do a combo of both, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so question, did anyone transition from home health straight to business owner of mobile outpatient? If so, how did you learn the ropes of the differences in legalities from employed by corporate home health to business owner, mobile outpatient? JD, you want to start? Because I know you transitioned from that.
Yeah, because I worked in the skilled nursing environment and I was the only OT with like 3 quotas at the time, I ran the Part B caseload, so I kind of knew how to do everything. I went to the meetings every week, and I kind of had that background from the get-go. But you know, you always have refreshers. I always have my notes here and there to, you know, keep track of things, but it wasn't really that challenging. I would say the most challenging thing about everything would be the insurance companies. That's really the most hardest thing, you know. But
Yeah, for sure. Carrie, how about you with the transition?
Yeah, I had very limited Part B experience. I worked in a facility where we did home health and we had an outpatient clinic in the building. So that was really my only experience, and that had been a little bit prior to when I started. So it was Kara. It was the Therapy Business Builder program is how I learned all the ropes of, the sort of the ins and outs of what we should be doing, what we, absolutely have to be doing, things like that. And then all the billing and insurance and all that stuff. So that was a huge help.
Awesome. Michelle, how about, because before you moved in Omaha, were you doing home health in Omaha?
Yeah, I did home health the longest. I started out in doing outpatient, like in a clinic, like at a hospital, and then a freestanding clinic. So we build CPT codes then, but then I went on a like 12-year stint of just doing home health care after that. So I had the thing there, but then when I was the DOR before, we had, Part A and Part B that we saw. So I did get a little bit of a refresher there. But yeah, like Carrie said, all the nitty gritty I got from the Therapy Business Builder program as far as the coaching and the mentoring and figuring all that out. This is the other question. How long did it take you to? I don't think it takes long to net a profit because it's very low overhead. I mean, you're driving to visits. I bought like a blood pressure cuff, like the standard vital stuff, a bag. I bought some cones and rings and just little tools, a AirX balance pad, just some basic stuff. Really, my biggest investment was the Therapy Business Builders program, but that's what set me up for success. If I didn't do that, I don't know what the heck I would have done. But yeah, I mean, essentially because it was just me to start. I mean, I was pretty much, it didn't take long to pay off my initial investment and then a profit after that.
Yeah, same here. We were answering one of the questions on the chat, Kara.
Awesome. I guess I left the baseball game a little early and my son's a catcher and I guess he had a little accident with the baseball. So.
Oh, is he okay?
He's okay.
Okay, good.
Okay, awesome. So did you guys answer the question on how quick are you able to see a new referral?
No.
Okay, how quick are you guys able to see a new referral? JD, you want to take that one?
Extremely fast, day one. If someone calls and says, hey, I've got a client that needs to be seen, if I have space that day, I'm there. I've also done, Florida has the ability to see a client and then also get the doctor to sign off later, or you could call and get the order right there on the spot. And I've actually been able to do an eval on the spot. I was there with a client and her friend was there, and she was staying there for an extended period of time. So I was actually able to do it right there, so
awesome.
Immediate.
Gary, how about you?
Yeah, now that I have another OT with me, I think I wouldn't be able to cover the clients that I have just by myself. I had gotten to the point where I had probably like a 2 or 3 week wait, which most folks were kind of okay with. I felt like when they were calling, it wasn't, anything acute that we were dealing with. But now that I have the other OT working with me, it's just a matter of getting the referral and checking the insurance, which is usually just a couple days.
Awesome. Michelle?
Yeah, same. If it's like a Monday that I get something and I know I have a space that week, I can get them in that same week. And I have direct access for PT and PA, so I don't even really need a referral before I go to do the eval, but I still try to get one. But yeah, usually this, if it's early in the week, same week, if not, usually the next week.
Awesome. What is your health insurance that you have your own practice? So I think, are you referring to like for them themselves, what kind of health insurance do they have? So would be my guess. So Michelle, you want to take that one first?
I looked into some of the traditional health insurance plans, and I feel like I'm fairly healthy and I don't really have a lot of issues. So I ended up going with a health share plan. So I pay like $275 a month because I figured if I was going to get a traditional medical insurance, I'd be paying $500-600 a month. So I figure I'm already saving $300 plus a month just not doing that. So I personally get that, but then I also put like $200 a month into an account that's like my own like saving, like medical account, so that when I have to pay it up front and then they reimburse you, I already have money sitting aside for that. But it's worked really well for me. I've had it for almost 2 years now, and I've gotten mammograms fully reimbursed. I've gotten like any colonoscopy that I had to get because of my age. So I've had no issues with it, and like all the little things I have to pay for, I have an account with that money in it. So
Awesome. And Michelle, what one, do you mind sharing what one you have? I know there's a variety of different ones out there.
yeah, I have Christian Healthcare Ministries, and they have like a couple of different tiers. I have like the highest tier, and I have like the Brothers Keeper, which is like an extra one for like catastrophic whatevers. But yeah, $275 a month. Yeah, he does. Dave Ramsey endorses that one. I saw that comment there. But yeah, I researched a lot. I'm a researcher, so I looked at a lot of different plans, and that one worked the best.
Perfect. Carrie, how about you?
Yeah, I just have a plan. Michelle and I talked about this. I should have really looked into it, but I just have a plan off, the marketplace. My husband has insurance through his job. He's a teacher and he was teaching at a small private school, and his insurance was pretty terrible. But we were able to put him and the kids on it for a pretty sizable chunk of change, but adding me more than doubled what our monthly premium would have been. So I have my own plan separately that we just through Blue Cross. Gets the job done. It's not great, but.
Awesome. JD, how about you?
I'm just on a basic plan with United Healthcare. I think it's like a PPO or whatnot, and I just covers myself, and it's very manageable. Not too expensive. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. If you take a week off or 3 weeks off, can you step away and not work? Who wants to answer that one? Carrie, maybe you should talk about that one.
Yeah, honestly, having the OT that works for me now, yes, is there somebody to cover? I will say the one thing I find with working with folks with dementia and folks with Parkinson's, and that I'm not doing, it's almost more consultation. A lot of what I'm doing, people just really tend not to want to see someone else. It's a very personal relationship. It's almost like if your like, psychotherapist was going to be gone, it's not like you're going to fill in with just some other person. So I do have someone. Before I even had the employee, though, there's another OT in town who has her own mobile practice, and we sort of agreed to be each other's, backup if needed. So, I mean, one thing I'm thinking about is I am hoping to take a little more time off, extended trip next summer. And I need to think about the business side of things. So not just the patient coverage, but who's gonna, if I'm out of the country for a couple of weeks, who's gonna be the one taking those phone calls and that kind of thing. So it's definitely a consideration and something I need to have in place for that. But otherwise, yes, there is coverage if needed.
Awesome. JD?
So I have taken a couple like 1 week vacations or a week and a half vacation. I still would get the phone call and I would do my best to not answer it. And I would, just kind of put it down. But yeah, it's hard to get coverage if you don't have someone else in the specialty. That's all.
Yeah, especially with your uniqueness with the lymphedema, that's really hard. Michelle, how about you?
Yeah, I definitely, like Carrie said, I definitely want to get something in place admin wise. And I know you're working on stuff, and we're going to look at all that virtual stuff. But Yeah, if I know I'm going to take a week off, I pretty much let all my current clients know. I will offer, if I have it, coverage with like my PTA or someone else. I don't really have a lot of coverage on the PT side right now. I have more coverage on the OT side, opposite of my profession, but I would, so I would go in and change my voicemail and say like, hi, you know, we're not accepting any new patients this week. Please leave a message. We'll get back to you on this date, you know, out of town, whatever. I would change my voicemail to something that pretty much says, I'll get back to you by this date. Please leave a message and I'll call you back, kind of thing. And I would really try to avoid taking phone calls if I'm on like a nice week vacation or something. Because like we all need a mental break. Like I know I need a break where I can just get away and not think about work, business, whatever. But yeah, so I'm still working on getting all that stuff into place too with Kara's help and all that stuff. So
Had the meeting this morning, so hopefully it'll work out well. When did you know it was time to hire another therapist? Carrie, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I should have done, and I'll also own up to what I did. It was Alex, I think, had at that meeting maybe a month ago, had a really good point that I think he had said, once you're like reaching 75% capacity, like think about, for you, what is your capacity? How many people do you want to be seeing? How many are you? And when you're getting to 75%, that's when you should be hiring, which I think is probably really fabulous advice. I dragged my feet. Kara kept trying to prompt me that it was time to hire someone, and I kept dragging my feet. So I probably was more like when I was at 100% and really needed the help. So it would have been, it worked out fine, but it would have been wiser to have done it a little bit sooner so that I didn't feel so frazzled going into it. But she's
JD?
great.
Well, OT, we already know. But PT, I got a PT, I believe it's about a month and a half out. I was very fortunate enough to find someone that wanted some per diem work, and it worked really well. With the nature of lymphedema being with the lower extremity, it just kind of pairs really well. So I've been able to adequately use PT for that.
Awesome. Michelle, how about you?
gosh, I'm trying to even think. Yeah, I guess like early on, like as I started getting busier and realizing I don't want to work this much, that's when I looked for at least a PTA to kind of help me out that way. Cause I knew I could just do a supervision visit every other week. So it would give me a lot more freedom. So that's why I brought the PTA on first. Because I think back then I was probably working 4 or 5 days a week. And I don't know, I just figured out how to cut it down, I guess. But yeah, I guess so when I got busier than I wanted to be, and then I wanted to build up the OT side because I know that almost every client I'm seeing on the PT side could benefit from OT. So I really wanted to get something like that in place. So yeah, so then I built, when I had my independent contractor, she wasn't able to do as much as I felt like we needed with our clients. So that's when I started looking for another OT in Coda. So.
And we'll take this question and then I missed some and we'll pop back up. So did you guys start with a PRN? What did you guys, I think most of you guys can just answer that. I think everyone started PRN, right? Therapist?
Yeah. Yep.
So I see I missed some up here. The business, legal, compliance, billing requirements are overwhelming to me. Where did you all learn all of that and get your forms so that is all in the therapy business builder program? Question mark.
Yes.
Yep, that's right.
What referrals?
I would have probably started this business without the therapy business builder program. I would have wanted to start my business, but I wouldn't have because I would have had to figure it all out on my own. And I knew I wouldn't do that.
Exactly. Same here.
What referral sources have you found the most helpful, especially in the initial months? JD, do you want to start with that one?
I found it was mostly nurse practitioners down here in Florida. Nurse practitioners, podiatrists. It wasn't necessarily doctors in general, though. Front office staff, people that found me online. Doctors, I would have to say, have been the last referral source, I would say, out of all of them. So.
Carrie,
how about you?
In the early days, I did just lots and lots of networking, and it was in the beginning, my two biggest referral sources were other clinicians who had their own private practices. So I met up initially with a couple speech therapists, and found a speech therapist who was also working with folks with Parkinson's, and who introduced me to a PT who also had her own practice working with folks with Parkinson's. So it was great. The three of us were able just to refer people back and forth, and we still do. Unfortunately, the PT had to close her practice because of a family thing that had a health crisis. But we still refer folks back and forth a lot, which is great, because it's like, I have needed to find a PT because I didn't have Megan anymore, but it's great having Tammy that I have a speech therapist, even though I don't have one. And then some case managers, some nurse case managers, like geriatric case managers, as they used to be called, who worked really intensively with their clients. There's a couple of those folks who early on were big referral sources.
Awesome. Michelle, how about you? Who are your big referral sources, and who were when you first started?
So when I first started, I'd worked for that PRN company for home health, and got the guy that, the PT that kind of like mentored me, bringing me on board as far as learning the paperwork side of things and everything with that company. He became my biggest referral source. Once I left there altogether, he would pretty much refer to me. Anyone that he saw for PT was getting discharged, but still wanted more therapy. So he was my initial biggest referral source. But now he's gone out and started his own mobile business like I have. So that's not as big of a, so I knew at some point I needed to start expanding. So now I'd say it's really a mix. I recently just had an old client. The daughter called me back to see them again. I have people that, like, medical assistants from doctor's offices up that just Google me and find me online. I just met with a concierge doctor's practice like last week. It finally happened, by the way. So I met with them and just told them what I did. And a lot of them are just like, I didn't even know that you existed. We didn't know someone did this, and they didn't realize. So I just market here and there wherever I can. Sometimes I go to networking events at like assisted living facilities and try to schmooze and meet other people. But a lot of people Google me or get referred some just random, phone call, but I'm still working. I mean, I think that's always a work in progress, trying to continue with your marketing and building up a caseload. But now it's really just kind of a conglomeration of mixed referrals.
Awesome. Did you guys answer this one? How long did it take for you to net a profit? Okay. Okay, awesome. So more questions. What other questions do you guys have? Put them in the chat.
About the referral sources too, I just wanted to add that, I've gotten a lot of referrals just from people within the program. I mean, it's pretty amazing the community that it builds. And, if someone needs a therapist in Florida from the program, or if someone's moving to a different state, it's a great resource, just wanted to put that out.
Yeah, that it's awesome. We try to, send people to each other's ways for sure. How about just in general, while they think of questions to ask, do each of you guys want to maybe just, if you were to do it all over again, is there anything that you would do different? Carrie, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I would have started sooner. I wish I had known that, that was even an option to have my own mobile practice. I probably would have saved myself and probably my husband a lot of frustration, as I was really having a tough time at the end of doing corporate home health.
That's great. That's a great one right there. Awesome.
Yeah, go for it. I'll let somebody else jump in then. I
Okay.
think of anything else.
I would definitely have niched down sooner and taken your advice. But yeah, it's nice when you can, just get that one group. So
awesome. Michelle?
I think I would have all the same things that they said, but also like maybe try to really target like a solid admin person. And I'm still working on this, but when I do stuff, like I know how to do all the billing, I know how to do all the reconciliation of billing, I know how to deal with insurance companies. Like Karen and Sue always say, like, make a video when you're doing all these things. Like, I wish I would have started out by like making more training videos to make it easier, because that's one of my, I think I'll say weaknesses or things I'm working on the most, is to get really solid systems in place. So get systems in place a lot sooner and like really record all the stuff that I do. So I have a way to carry that over to other people without me having to constantly retrain or redo everything.
Awesome. What is your capacity? So I'm guessing how many clients you can maybe take. JD, do you want to answer that?
28 visits a week, 30 visits a week, something like that. But that's with myself. I'm a different beast. So I will admit it.
We have talked about this too, everyone. I don't know how he does it. And I work a lot. Hey, Carrie, what's your capacity?
That's funny. JD is like, you're notorious for all those patients. They're lucky to have you though, honestly. I would say 16 is great. At anything over 20 starts to me to feel like way too much. So that's.
I'm going to pop back up to JD. The other thing though, it's not that you haven't tried. Trying to find a lymphedema therapist is awful.
It's
So,
extremely challenging.
yeah,
Yeah, you're definitely serving a need there.
it's
So.
not that you haven't tried. So Michelle, how about you? What's your capacity?
Yeah, like right, I think at the beginning I saw more than I do now, because I'm kind of enjoying slowing down a little bit. And because you make so much more per visit as a business owner versus when you're working for somebody else, you can see a lot less and make the same or more as you did working 40 hours a week for a company. So I love that. So I don't know, like, again, because I have some independent contractor positions too that pay really well. Like I saw two of my own clients today, and I saw 2 independent contractor, visits. But most day, I'd say so I'm working like 3 days a week, usually 2, 4, I usually don't see more than 4 or 5 a day. So if I no more than probably 15 visits a week, I'd say 10 to 15, me personally, but then I have my other therapist seeing 5 to 10 a week. So that helps because I
Yep.
still make a little bit of a profit off of all those visits.
Awesome. Okay, what is one tip to give the attendees to succeed? So if you could say one tip, what would that be?
Follow the plan that Kara has. Really,
And
it's
just so you all know, I did not bribe or prompt these people to say this either. But it's working out well for my sake. No.
No, when I first started, I had tried to get enrolled with Medicare, and it was partly frustration too with that whole process. And that's really one of the reasons why I joined with their program, was to get that enrolled. And I saw everything else. I was like, listen, this is a great thing, So I'm glad I did it.
Awesome. Carrie?
I mean, yeah, I would kind of say the same. And for, anybody questioning whether, if they're interested in having their own business, and is the Therapy Business Builder program worth it, I would say hands down, 100%. If for some reason that's not what you're looking to do, find somebody who's already doing it. I mean, we've sort of formed a network of private practice owners here in Chicago, and we have like 40 different folks now, and all different like practices. There are like some art therapists and LCSWs and things like that. But and honestly, I always feel like I'm in such a good position, because the questions that lots of other folks have, I know that I already have the answers to, and I'm getting them because I've gotten them through you. But we have formed that network for folks who don't. So find a network. Obviously, I'm biased to Kara and yours, but if not, find some group where you can like bounce these questions off of, because I love working by myself and for myself, but there are times when you just don't have, know the answers to things. And so you need somebody out there helping you out.
Awesome. And Michelle?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna echo the same kind of thing. I mean, I would just say, because I just know, and I would never have made the leap and just try to figure things out on my own, because I knew I'm like a very anal, detaily personality, and I would have like had to figure everything out before I did it. And I just knew that I would not do that because it would just be too much. My mind would be melting. But so once, yeah, just whether it's the therapy business builder program or something else, but I know that Kara's been successful in what she's done. So I find someone else that's been successful and don't try to reinvent the wheel. I mean, through the therapy business builder program, I mean, we got access to like policies and procedures manual. We got access to all the forms. I mean, way beyond what we invested. I mean, if I would have had to do all that stuff on my own, it would have been double, triple what I invested to be in that program. So plus I have, and I'm still in the continuation program. I know, I think we all three of us are just to continue to get coaching and training. Cause again, I don't ever feel like I'm totally by myself, even though I'm not anywhere near these guys, like geographically. I always have someone I can say, what about this? Or I have this idea, or what do I do in this situation? Like I'm never by myself. I don't know how people would think they could just go out there and do it on their own. I mean, Carrie, you did, thank God you did, but like you got help
Well, it
along the
was
way.
miserable. And that's why I mean, that was one of the big reasons why we started Therapy Business Builder, because no one should have to go through that by yourself.
Right. Yeah, it's the initial investment, but you're going to get such a quicker start and make more money quicker than anybody else that just tries to figure it out on their own. Like it's well worth it. I don't regret it at all.
Awesome. Okay, next question. You all seem like you are still in therapist mode. Are you also stepping away to CEO mode? Carrie, do you want to start?
That's such a good observation. Whoever made that observation, at least for me, because yeah, I think they're spot on. I am definitively still primarily in therapist mode, but I am, and honestly, when I started, that's all I wanted. I didn't want anybody working for me. I thought this would be nice. I'll just do my own thing. But I have, similarly to Michelle, like the thought of stepping away a bit from treating is nice. I have, my dad lives just down the street and he's going to be 84 next month. And so I know, and I have an aunt who's a little older who I'm, kind of the primary caregiver for. So I know that those things might be taking up more of my time in the future. And I don't want to feel like I can't provide that. So I am building towards trying to, in a perfect world, it would be maybe I'd be treating 2 days a week and really running stuff more. So yeah, working on getting there.
Awesome. Michelle?
Yeah, same thing. I'm working like once I think I get solid admin in place, and then I'm gonna have to find somebody else on like the PT side to kind of take over my stuff. But yeah, definitely working towards that. It's definitely a work in progress. But yeah, I would love to just go to full-time CEO and not have to treat 1 day a week, or if I feel like it or whatever.
And I mean, I've been doing this 5 years and I literally just stepped to CEO mode last fall, towards the end of the fall, winter. So, and I always said I would treat patients and not leave that. And then I finally changed my tune on that. But JD, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is still, I wanted it on my own terms and flexibility. So if I want to work, I'll work. If I don't want to work, or if I want to taper down, I have that option. And that's the most important thing to me, whether or not I have a staff of 20 people in the future, or if it's just myself, So,
Awesome. Great question. When reaching out to MDs, healthcare practitioners, how do you explain the mobile aspect? I've found a few of them think I have my own home health practice. I specialize more ortho sports, so getting them on board without the weight machines equipment. Great question. Who wants to start with it? Well, maybe Michelle, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. So I use a couple ways. I try to tell people, I first of all say I provide in-home mobile therapy. I said it's not traditional home health care, which is billed under Part A of client's insurance. It's under Part B. I say it's as if they were going to a clinic. I said, think of food truck You don't go to the restaurant, the food truck comes to you, whatever. I try to explain it like a food truck scenario. Like I said, I'm a clinic on wheels. I go to the person's home, but it's still but under their Part B. They might have a copay. I do my best to explain the difference, and I would tell, as far as like the machines and whatever, I would tell people you can get a way better functional workout with or without weights than using all those machines that don't provide functional movement. So
Exactly. Awesome. Carrie, what do you say?
Yeah, I tend to go with outpatient therapy. So I explain that I will come to I come to the home. I also do, we didn't really talk about this, but I do some telehealth too. The Skills to Care program kind of leads nicely to being able to do follow-up visits via telehealth. I do all my initial evals in person, but just explaining to people it's outpatient therapy, though it's not in the clinic. I'm coming to your house, but I will definitely say there's the number of times I get referrals, even after I've called the doctor's office and to explain this, and it says home health. OT. Have to call back. Nope, we're outpatient therapy. So yeah, it's definitely still a lot of education because people don't know that this is an option that exists in many cases.
Awesome. What are your thoughts on if people ask you about the weights, machines, equipment, things like that?
For me, that's the folks that I'm seeing. I don't even do that kind of therapy. So that's one I haven't run into.
Okay. JD, what is your answer to that?
I just say that it's, outpatient therapy within the home, that, my car is the clinic per se. And, it's similar to explaining what OT is. It's just, you get that elevator pitch or spiel, it's just something you got to do,
Awesome. And I mean, again, you guys, the research supports the functional therapy in the home, in their natural environment, getting them to do things, really makes a huge difference. I do know, like, Michelle, do you see any younger, more sports related clients at all?
I don't, I've had a couple. I've had one girl that was in her 30s that was a workers' comp case that slipped and broke her tibia, and another gal that was in like 51 that slipped on her driveway, broke her ankle, and both of them like were on crutches and whatever, and they didn't want to go to a clinic, but I worked them very hard. They were both very tired after our sessions in the home. So
yeah, I mean, our PTs see younger kids, or like kids and younger adults, and do all ages. So just educate, I guess. Betta said I paid them. I promise I did not pay them, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna pay them now. Michelle, I'm also in PA and have only enrolled with UPMC, Highmark, Aetna, and Medicare. Do you recommend any other insurances to enroll with that have been good payers? I'm an OT.
I'm only in network or participating with Medicare, and then this was for a patient in the past, one of like the Highmark plans. There's so many Highmark plans that I don't know which ones I actually am in network with and which I'm not, but I'm out of network for everything. I find that a lot of the Aetna plans and stuff too, pretty much the copays and stuff are pretty much the same, whether it's in network or out of network. And over this last year, even Aetna clients that I've seen that show they have a $20 copay, when I get the EOB back, they have zero responsibility. So I don't know why that is, but that's what it is. I don't know. So yeah, the Aetna Medicare Advantage plan and other ones that I see pretty much pay the same as Medicare. I haven't seen any that pay more. Workers' comp was really great. Workers' comp paid really well. I wish I'd get more of those, but
and we actually teach our therapists that, especially if you're doing older adults, home mods, geriatrics of any type, start with Medicare and that's it. You can do everything else out of network, because so many people are getting in network with all these crappy insurances that don't pay worth crud, and you don't want to be bound by that. Sometimes you can get paid better out of network, but it can also vary. Like, we have a private insurance here that pays extremely well, so it's like a no-brainer not to get in network with that. So if you guys are just starting out, don't go insurance credentialing crazy at all. Okay. Carrie, what business do you have? Veta, I think she came in a little bit late if you wanted.
Oh, yeah. Just, yeah, quick recap. I do mobile outpatient, working with older adults, primarily Parkinson's and dementia, and I'm here in Chicago. So.
Awesome. How do they qualify and for how long with mobile outpatient after no longer qualifying for home health? Anyone who wants to answer that?
I mean, it's just the traditional Part B stuff. Like they have a PT and an OT like threshold. It used to be cap, it's a threshold. And if you hit that threshold, you have to justify with the KX modifier that it's medically necessary. So it's not like home health where everything is lumped into one. It's a whole different, it's that CPT code payment system with the threshold. That's, I mean, as long as you're justifying it's medically necessary, you can add the KX and continue to go over the 3,000, but you just have to really be, I'm very careful.
Awesome. JD or Carrie, do you have anything to add to that?
As long as it's medically necessary is the most important thing. With my clients, typically with lymphedema, it takes a while, and sometimes it is an expensive treatment. So I will go over the cap some of the times. And as long as you can document exactly why you're doing it, and as long as it qualifies underneath, their participation agreement with the handbook of Medicare or whatnot, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, we have clients on long-term because we transition a lot of our clients to maintenance under Medicare Part B. Especially if they're a frequent faller or a frequent in the, almost sound like I said a bad word, frequent in the hospital, or, going back and forth, maybe like Parkinson's or something where they're declining. I mean, yeah, we have clients that we have seen beyond because we can justify the skilled and medically necessary treatment for it. So, okay, I am going to ask, have you all surpassed your previous full-time salary? And can you give a ballpark of profit for owner therapist? Carrie, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I would say so if I am seeing, I've done the numbers and off the top of my head, I can't exactly remember because now I've sort of muddied the waters with adding in a little bit of income from employees. But if I am at either seeing maybe 18 to 20 visits a week myself, probably closer to 18, or a few less plus my employees seeing some, I am matching what I was making, basically full time, or even when I was PRN with home health. So yes, I can, with fewer visits per week, I can meet what I was doing before. And again, it's thankfully, the mobile setup is a low overhead business. There's a few monthly things I pay for, but it makes it a little easier to see that profit.
When you were saying that, it made me think when I first started many years ago, I specifically remember calling home to my husband. I'm like, I only saw like one patient and I already made $100, and that would have taken me this many hours at work or whatever. So, or netted $100, I should say, or whatever.
Right.
So, Michelle, how about you?
Yep. Okay. I'm off mute. Yes, because I did my taxes last year, so I know like my profit and loss and all that kind of stuff. But so yeah, as a DOR, full time was over 40 hours a week. They expected you to work as much as you wanted, and I think I was at $40 an hour, maybe as a DOR, 42 maybe. I'm trying to even remember, but I worked way more hours. And last year, my first full year in business, I made more than that, and I worked a lot less.
Awesome. JD?
Yep, definitely surpassed what I was making before. Yeah.
Awesome. How do you explain the difference between home health and mobile outpatient since they're both in the home?
I mean, I think we kind of talked about that with just how we sort of explain that to when we're,
I
oh yeah,
think,
somebody just commented no homebound requirement. Yeah, which is a key thing, obviously. Yeah. Go ahead, JD.
no, that's what I was gonna say too, the homebound status. Yeah.
Mhm. And
Um,
also I tend to explain to people, typically home health, I think we've all worked in home health, so we know that it's typically short stay, right? You're trying to get somebody back to their prior level of function. Maybe you're trying to just get them to the point where they can get to outpatient therapy. But I certainly know when I was in home health that the focus was on not providing a lot of visits where possible. And there's obviously variations in that, but I like to explain to people that the nice thing is with outpatient, that as long as there's that skill and that medical necessity, we can be taking a little more time to achieve those goals. So
excuse me. Yeah, and the other thing, again, just remember, like home health is supposed to be a short-term thing. When people come home from the hospital or rehab or skilled nursing facility, I mean, ideally, they're supposed to go into outpatient therapy, but if they can't, home health is supposed to be a short-term stint, right? Until they can get out of the home. That's why they have to be homebound. And all home health are so different, right? I mean, some home healths melt the system, some don't hardly allow any therapy and so forth. With outpatient therapy, we can give them a lot more intensive therapy than they often get with home health, depending on your area. I know that could depend on your area, but okay. JD, lymphedema and skills to care, dementia type care. That I asked what you do. The home. Let's see. Home health discharge stating so home health discharge stating it's no longer medically necessary, then it will likely not be medically necessary in an outpatient setting. No, because we're going back to, again, home health is that short term. It's, they're not supposed to be homebound with that. So it's a whole different ball game on what requirements they have in the home. Hopefully that it helps. Give example after 2 months of therapy medically necessary. Is that possible? Yeah, I mean, we have clients that have been on way beyond 2 months. I mean, you look at a lot of times some of these clients don't get enough therapy. They're just left out in the dust. I mean, we've had clients that, come back from really significant strokes. We took a client home. We knew he wouldn't get what he needed, home health, and he was 64, and he had a massive stroke, and he did not want to go into a rehab or nursing home. He wanted to go home. He was a farmer. I mean, if you know us farmer families, we started him 5 days a week, PT and OT in the home, and we've seen him long term and getting him back to where he needs to be. Let's see. Okay. I think, yeah, that's through the list. If I missed anything, I'm sorry, but I know we have, well, gosh, Carrie, are you Central or Eastern?
I'm Central.
Okay. Because I know Michelle and JD, it's almost 10 there because they're Eastern. So, the 5 days a week, how long? He was a pretty long time because, I mean, technically we were doing like intensive rehab stay, but in the home. So again, we can't give you, it's all very individualized and individual to that person, the diagnosis, what everything. So, it's no blanket statements. I know, I remember this post, somebody on Facebook made a post about how often do you see a person? Do you always see them 2 times a week for whatever? And of course, I said, no, we see what you should see them depending on the patient and what they need. Nothing should be, no, we see people 2 times a week. And that person came back really snotty and answering, well, most people you see 2 times a week. And that shouldn't be the case. I mean, we have people 1 time a week, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4. I mean, it's all different, and it depends on his OT, and there's PT in there and stuff too. So, but anyway, so. Okay, so thank you, JD, Michelle, Carrie, for being here. I greatly appreciate you guys doing this. All of you guys that attended, I know a lot of you that are on here, I think I've seen it about every session throughout the 3 days. So your time and dedication and willingness to actually learn is huge, because each and every day I see posts on Facebook where people are doing a practice, and the questions they ask, they should not be doing a practice. So you guys are taking the time to learn and ask important questions, so you actually know what you're doing, and that's huge. Because I always say, would you want to go to someone that is just starting their practice and flying by the seat of their pants? I mean, it's kind of scary to me. So really important that you guys are here and taking the time to do that. So in 2 weeks, on the 11th, we will do our final Q&A session. That's just because I wanted to give people time to watch the replays and see if they had any questions for the other presenters. Also, I need to do the growth plan session, which I will send out to you guys, and we'll find a time to do that. Thank you for, we had a few presenters this week that were sick or had family concerns, so we mixed things around. So thank you guys for your flexibility with all of that. So you guys have a great night, and we will see you all soon. Thanks, guys.
Welcome. Bye.